There's one issue open.
Okay, welcome to the August 1st, 2017 benchmarking working meeting. We delayed it from yesterday because I wasn't available. Thanks for everybody who could make it out today. On the agenda, we have just basically our regular walk through the stand-up. We can talk about some of our open issues and then go through actions from last week. And then any other business. I did do a quick scan and I didn't see any issues that were marked as benchmarking agenda. Otherwise, I would have added them in here. So I guess just moving forward, so far in the room we have myself, Michael Dawson, Kuno Pathak, Kyle Farning, and Gareth Ellis. In terms of stand-up, last week the main thing that I worked on, or the last couple of weeks, the last thing I worked on was getting ready for the benchmarking panel at Node Summit, as well as participating in Node Summit last week. We did have I think it was quite a good panel, lots of interest. So hopefully that will generate some more interest on the benchmarking side for us. And I did also have a very quick look at the DCEIS PR as that's something we definitely want to work on getting in. And Gareth, you're next. You on mute, Gareth? We can't hear you. I guess maybe let's skip Gareth and Kyle and Kunal if you guys want to go first.
Yeah, as I even I reviewed. Yeah, Gareth, you want to start?
Yeah, sorry, it wasn't unmuting.
Okay.
Yeah, so I say a couple of weeks ago, I had a quick go at trying to recreate the Acme Air noise that was being reported on Chakra. I didn't have much luck in being able to get an environment where I could actually run it, unfortunately. So I'm not sure if that's still an issue or if perhaps the people who raised it managed to resolve it. But otherwise, it might be worth us having a go, seeing if we can get that test running on Chakra on the benchmarking machine, because they were running it on Ubuntu.
Right.
So
in general, it would be a good idea to have multiple runs of the benchmark and get a mean of that numbers instead of just having one iteration. Because at least for Node Chakra, and I think it should also repro for Node V8, where you do 5 runs and there will be a margin. Those numbers are not consistent. So yeah, something to think about.
Yeah, I'm looking at the nightly benchmarking graphs. The numbers seem to be for the Acme or ops, for the existing ones we're running, they seem to be relatively consistent for ops latency. The footprint seems to be a little bit more variable, as is the footprint after load, although even that's reasonably well clustered. It's between like 90 meg and 100 meg, quite easily within that range. So I guess it's are we seeing greater variance than we're seeing on the existing runs on Chakra? Is that?
For Chakra, yes, we did see variance when we were doing our own perf investigation on Chakra side.
What kind of machine was it running on?
It was a dual core, I guess, or 4 cores, and it's a benchmark machine, typical benchmarking machine, 4 cores and I think 8 gigs RAM or 12 gigs RAM. Okay. I don't remember, but
so nothing else was running on there either, right?
No, yeah, it's just a benchmark that I run there. It will be good to also know what machine configuration we have for our benchmarking working group. I asked someone, I guess, a while back on one of the issue, and I didn't get response, but it will be good to know the configuration so at least we can see.
So maybe, I think we have a reasonable amount of time. So if you guys are patient, I could try and look that up right now.
Yeah, that will be great.
Okay, so I'm just going to see if I'm going to log into our into the control panel. I think it might tell me that. So control.software. Soft layer. Oh, all right, just logging in here. I'm just watching the screen as it gives me the right. Okay, there we go. Great. Okay. Surprising how many different buttons I have to press. Okay, so now I can look at our devices, device list. So we have bare metal. Okay, right. So there's our bare metal machine. And device details. Right, okay. So here I'm going to, I wonder, maybe actually a screenshot might be better. Hold on.
Yeah, that would be nice.
So I'm just going to get my on-screen keyboard if I can. Yep, control, print screen. If while I'm doing this, you can dig up the issue where you want me to paste the...
It's 116.
Okay, 116. Okay, paste. I'm just... So here we go. That's not bad amount of information. I wonder if it's going to let me just paste this in. We'll find out anyway. Issues 116. 116 is install Clang on benchmarking machine.
Yeah, in that issue, I was also asking about the configuration. If you scroll down.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, here, why don't I just, I'm going to create a new issue, and I'm going to say configuration of first bare metal benchmarking machine. This also reminds me that's something else we should put in the agenda, but I'll get to that. Benchmark machine. So here it is. Okay, yeah. Soft layer. Okay, so if you go to issue 126, you should be able to see, hopefully it's readable. If you click on the link, at least it pops up. It's basically Ubuntu 14.04, 64, 2 times 4 gig Kingston, so 8 gig RAM, 3.5 gigahertz Intel Xeon Ivy Bridge.
Okay.
E3-1270, and it's got like some, I guess it's a super micro board and that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Okay. I will check what machine we have.
Okay.
And yeah, but thanks for that info.
Yep. Okay, so I'm just going to close that issue as a sort of documenting issue.
Yep.
Okay, so that's good. Let me just take a few notes in our, get back to the minutes and take a note or two on that. Where is my minute? Sorry. No. Okay. Where? Sorry. I'm hoping I haven't closed it, but I have too many tabs open to find the right one. Nope. Here we go. I think. No, that's still not the right one. Arg. Maybe sorry, I might have to navigate back. Just doing that. Sorry, gotta open up the issue again. Get the link. Okay, issues. Okay, and so right, so canal reviews reference benchmark. Just gonna say ask question about layer software create an issue and paste it in info. I think so. The next step on that one, though, I do agree with Gareth that actually running it a few times on the same machine would be good, because we can see if you see the same variants or not. I think we worked to get you a job where you could do that. Have you got it to the point where it's running, or there's some blockers or anything like that?
For the job that you created a while
Right,
back?
I created you a job where you could then experiment with doing the right thing in that job. And
Yeah, I mean, I could use that job for getting no chakra code numbers, and yeah, there is no problem with the job. So maybe we can tweak that job to have like multiple iterations.
well, I mean, did you run that job and you see the? I guess my core question is, did you run the job there and see the same variants or not?
No, actually, I didn't try that. I can try out that as well.
So yeah, why don't you try that out? Because since we don't see the variation on the regular runs,
right,
it's just a matter of your setup or whatever, and this would let us take that out of the equation.
Right. Can you just add a like to do for me to?
Right. So I'm going to put down here. I'll put actions now to run Acme Air. I'm going to say to do Acme Air runs on community benchmarking machine and report if he sees the same variants or not, right? Sounds good. And I think if we do, then that's maybe an environment, Gareth, where you could take a look at what's going on there, right? Because we could get you access to that.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, and then so Kyle, I see.
Haven't been too useful in this. I haven't had time to take on any benchmarking issues this couple of weeks. I've been looking at other stuff.
Yep, understood. Okay, so moving on. I just need to get back to the issue now. So that was our stand-up. So let's go to our actions from last meeting. We'll just walk through those, and I'm just going to actions from last meeting. And if this is too bad that, Docs fights us from keeping it into a nice markdown format. But anyway, okay, so the first one was Kunal was going to create a PR to add the mean or something else to Acme Air runs.
Yeah, unfortunately, I couldn't get it to a like PR workable state. I did like fine-tune it for the memory benchmarking for the Windows. I think it should be easily like ported to Linux. So yeah, it's just like using the scripts that we use in Acme Air. Like just plug those scripts. So still working on, yeah.
Okay, so that's fair. Still working over on roll that as an action over to next time, right?
Right, and I think this is resolved a while back.
Right, to follow up on client blocking check core. Okay, so that's done.
Yeah.
Basically, I think the answer was we didn't need Clang in the end, or
no,
you figured out how to install it.
Install basically.
Right. Yep. Install is actually. I'm going to take that note. Right, Clang is installed as part of running the job.
Right.
It's good, resolved. Okay, it's installed locally. Okay, that's good. Udom was going to submit a PR with the input script. So PR is submitted. We just need to work through getting it landed. Some review comments to address. Next step, session, Michael to set up job, right?
Yeah. So
Now,
one thing that I noticed like in the PR is like it's kind of similar to Acme where you get bunch of data from MongoDB, you populate your cache and then you just read from the cache, and in Acme you just like measure how much time it took for reading it from the cache, like
right.
the data from last 2 minutes.
Okay.
And whereas this Node.js EIS benchmark, they always, I think they do have cache, but they expire the items from the cache.
Okay.
And then they still go to the MongoDB. And my comment was, will it be good to do similar to what Acme does, like just always read from cache? Because if you have MongoDB, we add like a, I don't know, like a net, like the disk dependency, and that might tweak the numbers, and it might give us like variations.
I guess the question in my mind is it more realistic, doing it from the disk, or is it like, or does that mean we're just measuring disk performance as opposed to?
Yeah, exactly.
So okay, so I think that's a discussion we need Udom
Mm-hmm.
for, because I think he's sort of the lead on DCEIS, so they
Right.
probably have thought about these things.
Right. I mean, like he replied saying like we want to have like more realistic performance measurement, like end-to-end performance measurement. So I get that.
Yeah.
But yeah, something to think about.
Yeah, something to think about. We could potentially try and run it both ways and see what difference the numbers show us, right?
Right. Yeah, and that's what I suggested him to
Okay.
do.
The thing is though,
Go ahead.
with that though, we're not reading the whole database into memory. We still do. I mean, we still do go and exercise MongoDB quite a bit.
Yeah, I mean, like the way Acme is configured is like they assume that initial 2 minutes of read would sufficiently populate the cache that you rarely have to go to MongoDB. So after 2 minutes, you still go to MongoDB, but it's like once in a while. Most of the data is populated in the cache that is needed for your query.
Okay.
Yeah, so yeah, I mean, like, yeah, you don't like load all the MongoDB data in memory, but whatever is needed, that is loaded. And I think like, yeah, the reasoning for them for Acme was also same, like you don't want to take much dependency on the going back to MongoDB. So they use like a no expiry cache basically.
Okay.
Okay. So I think like let's get something running with DCEIS, and then we'll based on that we can then say try some different things, that kind of stuff.
Right. I think yeah, we can ask Uttam to come up with a for the meeting to tweak the test job that you have configured, Michael, and like add DCEIS to it.
Right. I think like when we got together, he didn't make it, right? So I created a job for you guys to work on Chakra Core. I think what I was thinking is that when I get together with him, I'll do the same thing. Hopefully, we can actually work through creating some of the steps.
Yeah.
Because
I think the only blocker is like what dependency are needed to be installed on the benchmarking machine, like that client or whatever.
Right, exactly. And I'm hoping that it's not really things we have to pre-install. I'm hoping that like, in the job, we can just do like a git clone of DCEIS.
Sure, yeah.
Because we've got a bunch of jobs that do things like that, clone some other repos. And that's my sort of hope, that it's just do that. If it's something else, then at least, in the session, we can understand what that is and figure out how best we can cope with that. My first two preferences are it's cloned from somewhere else, or we check it into the benchmarking repo.
Right.
Now, I think with Acme Air, we couldn't necessarily do that, or we haven't figured out how not to do that, but that's sort of the way we should get to if we can.
Right. And I'm not sure, like, did you get chance to look into his PR? Does he also update the charts to reflect the data?
No, but I'm not so worried about that. Like,
okay.
I can easily spend, an hour and update some charts, or, I think the first thing is just to get it running.
Got it.
And once it's running, as long as we got it to run and it spits out the results, it's not that much work to scrape the results into something that can be published to the database. And so my focus is let's get it running. In that session with him, it's like, we'll see how far we can get. If we can work through the whole thing, that it gets to the point where it's already published into the database, that's great. If not, we can do a bit of follow-up. And then the charts part, again, it should be pretty simple to add in the new charts. So.
Okay.
But it's probably a good example for us all to do that together, so that I know I've walked people through, but there's nothing like actually doing it. So.
Right. Yeah, that totally makes sense.
Okay. So unfortunately, I am on vacation. Well, or fortunately for me, but unfortunately, I'm on vacation next week, and I am kind of distracted this week with some family things this week. So I'm not sure how quickly we'll be able to get that, but if we can get a hold of Udom and do something maybe tomorrow. We'll see what we can do. Otherwise, we'll have to push that out a bit.
Yep.
Okay, so I'm looking back to back to what we had. So that's all of our actions from last meeting. Let's take a quick zip over to open issues review. I think that may cover the one that I also was thinking we should talk about for sure, but okay, meeting at NodeConf. So right, so there's a proposal for some sort of informal meeting at NodeConf EU 2017. So who's all going to be there? Or do you know if is anybody, Gareth, Kunal, or Kyle, any chance any of you guys are going to be there?
I won't.
Yeah. Is that?
We won't be there.
You won't be there. No.
I think Arunesh might be there.
Right. All right. Arunesh will be there
Yep.
because he's co-presenting with me.
Yep. So he better be there.
None of the other benchmarking members will be. I wonder if we should propose, like, is it any more likely that you guys will be at Node Interactive?
When is that? Is it in Vancouver?
That's in Vancouver, yeah.
Not sure yet. I don't know. We'll have to check.
Okay, so I'm going to say Node Interactive might be better, but people will have to check. I'm thinking we should set up an online get started.
Yeah, and for that Node EU, I'll talk to Arunesh about it, and it will be good to also get some like memory measurement the way I was proposing for Acme, to have that for Node.
You mean the mean or?
Yeah, mean or whatever like I come up with for Acme, like or some metric where we can also measure the memory growth trend.
Right.
Yeah. Not just the CPU. Yeah.
Right. Okay, so I'm going to respond to this one I'm responding to. I'm going to be at NodeConf EU, and Arunesh will be there, but none of the other benchmarking programmers will be. That we know of. Node Interactive might be better if people are still not sure, but those on the last call are still not sure. I'm going to say, I'm thinking we should set up an online meeting to get started on this discussion. I'm out next week, so how about we send out a doodle for the week of the 21st, August 21st. Can I ask one of you guys to volunteer to send out the doodle?
Yeah, sure. I can do that.
Okay. So yeah, if you could just send it, I guess basically paste it into this into this issue saying, hey, here's a doodle for that week. And preferably for me, like starting with dates later in the week.
Okay.
Because it takes a little bit of time to sort of swap back in.
Yep.
Okay, so that's good.
Time zones as well, preferably.
Wait, go ahead.
And a mix of time zones as well, if possible.
Yes, yeah. Like I always try and do one like, for my time, 9, 12, and 6 o'clock at night or something.
Yeah.
So try and span as best we can. I think some of the V team are actually in Europe, Gareth, so that might help you.
Yeah, good stuff.
On that front. Acme Air benchmarks seem very noisy, so do we need to dive into that one, or it sort of sounds like there's been some discussion. We already had a little bit of discussion and possible next steps on that one too.
Yep.
Okay. Next one is add Uglify benchmark. Right, so Ben posted the PR. I think there is a PR for that. PR exists. Now, when I looked at it, right, so I'd asked if we actually needed to check in all the parts. I guess the one question I had is if we check in all the parts, like what about licenses and stuff like that?
Wow. No.
So I think we'd have to look at, I don't know, I'm checking it all in, yes, but it's a lot of files and stuff. Is there any chance somebody could volunteer to look at the licenses and figure out if we have any problems checking it in?
You mean the?
It's issue pull request number.
Yeah, 121.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like what?
It's a
what need to be
BSD
checked?
license on it.
The what license?
BSD.
Right.
So I think that means it's generally okay as long as we don't go and remove the license documentation from it, I think, doesn't it? But again, I'm not an expert on licenses or anything. So
Yeah. That's a good question. I guess maybe like I'm just not certain enough either about just checking in other projects' code. Maybe we need to ask somebody. So okay, I'll see if I can find time to ask what the guy, what our overall project feeling is on that, just checking in other things or whether we should be a bit more careful. Okay. So that's the next step on that one. Let's go back to issues. But it is interesting because somebody else mentioned Uglify.js as a good benchmark. So I think we definitely want to push that forward and get it in. Just benchmark data cleanup. I don't think there's any progress on that. That's just when if people have cycles, we do have to. The database is just adding more and more data. I think at some point we want to sort of like thin it out so that we still show the timeline, but without as dense, sort of dots. So if anybody has cycles to do that at some point, I could help them by getting the copy of the database, and we could figure out how to do that. We already talked about adding Node.js to the benchmark suite. Date format generated by Acme Air driver can't be parsed by JavaScript. There's a bunch of complications there in that the person who was maintaining Acme Air used to work for IBM, but moved somewhere else and seems to have taken the repo with them. So we don't have as much influence over actually getting changes landed there. I did poke the issue. I haven't looked at it lately, but I think I still need to go back and do that. Enabling TCP, no delay. Yes, next Node.js. I don't think any of these others have had any updates since we last discussed them.
Yeah.
Okay. Pull requests. We talked about DCI best, Uglify, let const versus var. There was some discussion on that. I think I commented on June 19th, asking Michael if he was going to make it to the meeting for the discussion. Otherwise, we we might close it for now. What's your guys' thoughts on, should we leave it open, or do you think it's been long enough that we should close it until, we can always reopen if he comes back?
Yeah, closing for now makes sense, I
Okay.
guess.
Okay, so I'm going to say closing for now. Closing for now, based on discussion in last meeting, will reopen when he jumps back to the discussion. Okay. And then prototype for running a subset of benchmarks on a pull request. Okay, so this one actually leads into, although why I didn't come across the other issue I thought I would have, but this one leads into, we do have 2 new benchmarking machines that donated from Intel. What I would like, of course, there's a good question. So is it in this issue that has the...
So I think what I'm looking for is the pull request for putting being able to run them up.
Right, that was number 58. That was your pull request. Yeah. So that's the one that, we've now got a machine, so we could basically dedicate, the concern when we were discussing this that I had was we don't want to swamp everything else that's going on. Given that we have 2 new machines, I think, and they were intended to help with this thing, we can easily swamp at least one of them. So it's, what do we do? What's our next step to get this moving again? Gareth, it's been a while. Do you think there was any reason why the pull request, like, let's see, were there any other functional issues we still were discussing?
No, I think we're at the point where we were ready to try it in Jenkins and see.
Okay, so basically we want to land this.
Yeah, and then we can go and test and work out.
Set it up. Okay. And sort of figure out what kind of things we could do here. So let's say next steps. Okay, so I'm going to just comment at the end. Okay, new machines have been made by Intel, which we can use to run these tests without interfering with the regular benchmark jobs. Okay. So next steps would be 1, land this here. 2, I guess, Gareth, probably what makes sense is if I set up, we get together, I set up or actually you probably, anyway, either I can set up a job and hand it over to you, or we can get together and we can do that. And we just need to make sure that job is targeted at just running on that particular machine. Yep. And then you can work on the Jenkins configuration to run the script, probably.
Yeah,
that makes sense. Yeah. So actually, you're going to say, Michael, to create new job. Okay, create new job. 3, Gareth, to use job to set up job to run the script and experiment with how best to make the different options available. Okay, so I'm going to give my files changed. Give my LGTM. You guys want to get in there and do the same. And I'll comment to that effect. Did I just right? Comment. Okay. So Gareth, basically I'll comment in this issue once I've created the job. And I guess you can probably just take it from there, right?
Yeah.
Any questions or anything? Like, let me know if you have any questions. But I think otherwise, I'll create the job. I'll leave it as blank, except that it'll be set up so that people in the benchmarking work group are able to edit it. I think you're in benchmarking admins. If you're not, I'll add you there. And then I'll also target it at the right machine. And I think other than that, since you're just be running on that one machine, it shouldn't interfere with anything else. Okay, that's good. I think the other thing we may want to start thinking about, not necessarily discuss this week, but like what else do we want to target at those machines? They're two pretty beefy machines. So I think, this is a great first thing we can do for, to use maybe one of them, but we still have another pretty beefy machine, which we could start to do bigger, more interesting benchmarking runs if we have cycles. Because I think they've got lots of RAM and lots of CPUs and all that kind of stuff.
So this PR just runs the benchmarks present in this repo, or does it run micro benchmarks?
It's the micro benchmarks.
I see.
The idea would be, it would be a job that we could basically say to collaborators,
yeah,
here you can, if you want to run the micro benchmarks, here you can run them. And it's sort of, the problem is if you just run them all, it could be like a 3 or 4 day run, right? So
yeah.
We need something that says you can choose some subset of them and have some guidance around like how to use it.
Okay.
So I think, if Gareth sets it up, we can then see how, what the different options are, maybe understand how long a full run takes. If we kick it off and let it run over the weekend or something, and then sort of, give people guidance that says, okay, here's this tool, but here's some things to be aware of when you kick off your jobs.
Right. I think we can have that, like, leave it alone to just run the micro benchmark, because in case we come up with some other benchmarks from the Node EU meeting, we can add it there on those to be run on on those machines, on those new machines.
Right. Like, I think that would be a different job, right? Like if depending on the machine, depending on the new benchmarks, we can add them to run on the existing benchmarking machine.
Mm-hmm.
And or the new machines if we start to get ones that we want to run on more cores and more memory and that kind of stuff.
Right. So is there a way like we can also run Acme, like one of these benchmarks as part of that, as part of this new job that you will create, or is it dedicated for just the micro benchmarks?
I don't, there's no reason we couldn't. But the first thought was just to make it a micro benchmark run.
Okay, I see.
I mean, you're in what particular case are you thinking? Like, you want to run, somebody wants to run the other benchmarks as well, but
just and like footprint. I want to see like there are like a lot of optimizations that people do in lib.
Right. So we can easily set up another job which does basically
exactly
clone the existing job and strip out the part that publishes to the database.
Right, and just echo like pretty much what we did for the test job.
They already echo all the results into the output of the job anyway.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So I really think it would be like clone and delete the publishing step.
Right.
And then, so if that's something, you guys think is useful, I can create that. Maybe if you could just create an issue as a reminder, I can create that job. It won't take too long.
Okay.
And then anybody in the benchmarking work group who's in the benchmark admins should be able to, anybody in benchmarking should be able to run it, and anybody in benchmarking admins can edit it. So.
Okay.
But yeah, if that's something you'd want to, use, then the only tricky part might be it might take a little bit more work to make it work on, say, your repo instead of the main repo. I just have to look at that. I don't think that's too hard, but
yeah. Right. Yeah.
But yeah, if you want to open the issue, I can start by cloning the existing one.
Okay.
And then, if you have cycles, you can actually probably work on the Jenkins configuration to make it more flexible to say version to run on.
Right. Sure.
I don't think it's too hard, but I don't want to be the blocker on that. So.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Right. So going back to, I think we've gone through open issues and that. So I'm going to flip back to, if I can find our agenda. Okay. So, right. Other business. So any other business people have to discuss?
No.
Okay. I think the one thing I would put on, I'm on holiday next week. I think because we moved this meeting out a week, regularly we would be scheduled for next week. So I don't know if you guys want to get together or cancel for next time.
I think, yeah, we can skip the next week.
Okay, so we'll skip the next week and have it so basically 3 weeks from now.
Right.
Okay. Great. Well, thanks for all of you coming out. I guess the thing we should do is just see if on the IRC or in the issue there are any comments. So if anybody is watching the YouTube stream, and I don't know, let me see. I'm not sure if I know how to check people watching on YouTube. I will go on to IRC and check.
I just tried to open the YouTube link that's in the video.
Yeah.
And it says that it's waiting to start. I don't know if that's means something's gone up with it or.
That's strange because it says stop broadcast, so I've definitely live. Now it does say 0 viewers though, so that would maybe be reflective of that.
Yeah, I'm not sure if maybe it's coming in as a different video or something, or I don't know.
Right. Well, let me see. I can double check if I had. No. Maybe I'll double check the link. Here, let me check the links here. YouTube page. Is that what I wanted, or the video embed? Did I get the wrong thing in the? Okay. So where is that? Why is that page different? Okay, I don't know why that is. Let me go to the admin page and see if that what that says. Schedule, build workgroup meeting. If I click on that, I see watch, and yeah, you're right. It says waiting. Okay. Well, I guess nobody's watching. So I don't know why it wouldn't have started because we're on. But anyway, let's see. Hopefully, we'll see if we can get at least the recording to people. But I think that means that we're basically done for today. Thanks for everybody showing up, and we'll talk to you later.
Right.
Bye.